One must-have development tool for AWS is AWS Toolkit for Visual Studio Code. It allows you to hook into the deep aspects of developing for AWS, especially in the serverless world. And it allows you to use things like Amazon CodeWhisper, which can do generative AI code completion. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how this would look like in a repo. So if you're using GitHub CodeSpaces, which is a cloud-based development environment that can run in your browser, if you went through and created a code space here, then you could actually launch it, which we've already done. And inside of here, you can see the toolkit is already installed. Now, how did I do this? Well, if I go over to extensions here and we look at AWS Toolkit, you can see that it does integrate with the web-based version of Visual Studio Code. Now, if we look at this, you can see that it also has the CodeWhisper installed. Now, how do I see that running? Well, if we go over to AWS here, notice at the bottom is something called Developer Tools. And under CodeWhisper here, we can actually resume auto suggestions, for example, or we could even run a security scan. So it's got some advanced features here for us that are available. So it could work in parallel depending on what your workflow is with, for example, GitHub Copilot as well. You could also disable it temporarily if you wanted to, and then only use CodeWhisper. So the main takeaway though is that you can actually use both inside of this web-based GitHub CodeSpaces. Now, there are other methods as well to be aware of. One of them is this Cargo Lambda. And if we go ahead and we copy this, all right, perfect. So now that we've got this set up, we can just type in Cargo Lambda. There we go. And now we've got Cargo Lambda build, deploy, init, new, watch, help, etc. Now, we also can do this inside of regular Visual Studio Code. In fact, I've already got this installed here. You can go ahead and check this out. So this is a local version of Visual Studio Code. Now, I also have the AWS CodeWhisper here, but I also have my IAM credentials connected where I'm able to see my whole AWS account. So this is typically a great idea, is to also integrate with your AWS account. So again, if you just go to the extensions here, you can say AWS Toolkit, you install this, and it can actually set up this entire environment. Now, if we go back here, one of the nice things about getting this set up for developing with Rust and AWS Lambda is that when you've deployed something via Cargo Lambda, you can actually right-click on it and you can invoke it, or you could even invoke it from this terminal here. So the integration with AWS Toolkit inside of Visual Studio Code and or CodeWhisper, right, which we can also get suggestions from CodeWhisper or pause the suggestions, is a great interface for developing AWS Rust tools.